Josh, who has done intro music for us for a while. He's crafting something new, but it's going to take a little bit.
Oh, okay.
All right, and we are live. So, welcome to episode 288 of An American Werewolf. I am Michael Martin, the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got John K. Alvarez, always always waiting for the bad thing to happen. Thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we are covering, again, we are in the third week of covering the films of one of our favorite directors, Richard Linklater.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't know, just this month alone, Linklater has dropped a theatrical release in Blue Moon. And then just this past Friday, dropped a completely separate Netflix film called Nouvelle Vague, which is his love letter to the French New Wave era of cinema, about Jean-Paul Godard creating Breathless. So that's on Netflix. He's got another movie out in the theaters now. It's a perfect time to be talking about him. This is a film I had not seen before. And I'm talking about Me and Orson Welles. So if you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Let us go, good sir.
Boogie woogie. So let's get into a little bit of the behind the scenes here. Christian McKay, who played Wells, was a complete unknown before this film.
Right.
He was a British stage actor who had portrayed Wells in his one-man theater show Rosebud, The Lives of Orson Welles. And Linklater cast him after seeing a tape of that performance. McKay had never appeared in a feature film before, but he really looked like Wells.
Yes, he did.
And his presentation of Wells just knocked everybody out, including a lot of Wells experts and even people who had known Wells personally. His own daughter, Wells's daughter, burst into tears when she saw his performance, saying it was like seeing her father again, and had actually thanked everybody. We had Zac Efron, who we were talking before the show. We're not familiar with. We are not High School Musical people.
Exactly.
But he was really good in this.
Yes, he was.
He actively pursued the lead. He was coming off the High School Musical phenomenon and wanted a dramatic role to prove that he could act. And Linklater was initially hesitant because of his, the teen idol thing. But Efron flew to Austin, Texas to audition in person and won the part. Claire Danes replaced Zoe Kazan, who was originally cast as Sonia Jones. Very late in pre-production, Kazan had dropped out to scheduling conflicts with another project. We'll get into some more BTS later, but let's get some initial feelings on the film. You recommend? Well, it isn't that you recommend. You did recommend it. We had already selected it as one of the films, and you were like, I can't remember what you had said, whether you're really going to like that or that it's really great. Tell me a little bit about your feelings.
To me, I have been, and you've known me for decades now, Michael, but I have been working professionally as not just a paid actor, but like in unions and running theaters now for quite literally 40 some odd years. And when I saw this movie on a dare the first time, a friend of mine said, I dare you to go and watch the Zac Efron film with me. And I walked in and we were both stunned because we were both in the theater. And we were like, this is like a love letter, not just to Orson Welles, but being in that life type deal. The whole concept of, I mean, when they were standing outside waiting for the theater to open, still waiting for the one guy, I'm usually the guy they're waiting for. Or I'm the guy who goes there to calm everybody down because we're waiting for the director to show up type deal. But it was so true. These were real. I know they were based on real people, but they were also real dialogue, real emotions, real connections. These conversations, it was more like I'd mentioned to you before we started recording, it was like inside baseball, because it would be good and entertaining if you didn't know the theater, but if you were in the theater, you're like, oh my God, they really got this right.
This book is based on, this movie is based on a book by the same name. It was written by Robert Kaplow, who just decided to craft this charming piece of historical fiction. This actually occurred. This production of Welles's Julius Caesar in the Mercury Theater in 1937. Wells is only 22 years old at the time.
Right.
This is a year before the War of the Worlds radio broadcast.
Yep.
So he was just about to reinvent what people maybe thought was possible on the stage. A year before, he reinvents what's possible through radio, because this is before the era of television. This is before before America gets involved directly. 4 years before Pearl Harbor, and 2 years before he makes Citizen Kane.
Right.
So he just had 3 back-to-back earthquake-level events that launched him into the stratosphere. And so someone decided to write this charming little book about the first event, which is this in 1937. And it says, the film meticulously recreated the Mercury Theater's legendary 1937 modern dress fascist Italy production of Julius Caesar. And that Caesar is sort of a Mussolini kind of character from that time. It's often called the death of fascism Caesar. Linklater and his team studied surviving rehearsal footage, photos, and eyewitness accounts. The entire Mercury Theater was built from scratch in the Isle of Man, where most of the film was shot, and in London studios. They even recreated the famous red gel lighting and the trapdoor stage mechanics used in the original production. Many of the actors playing Mercury Company members, Joseph Cotton, George Coulouris, Norman Lloyd, were given the real names and personalities of the historical figures, and several had eerie physical resemblances. The budget was about $25 million. It's modest for a period film because they had to do a lot of stage to make it look like you were in 1937, and it does.
It does.
Yeah.
There's like, I think I might have caught one mistake, and I'm still not sure if it was a mistake. It was just because it could be my own not knowledge of history of it, but they were right on the money.
Yeah. It's just, it's a great deal of fun. It's not all smooth edges. It has some hard edges because it sort of takes I won't say a hard look at Orson Welles, but it takes an honest look at it.
Yes, and
Um,
that's what I was going to say too. Is that it's very honest.
yeah, he's a genius. Yeah, I would say so. He's a genius. Is he a son of a bitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a son of a bitch. Already at 22, he's a son of a bitch. He is fully aware. He is completely self-aware of how bright he is.
Right.
Of how dominant his personality is. He is the only one in his universe that is not expendable. He will burn any bridge, screw anybody over. He's not an evil man. He's just a complete egomaniac.
Right. Exactly. I'm so glad they actually Linklater picked this time to do it, to present it. Because if you look on YouTube now, you'll see images of him from Citizen Kane.
Sure.
Or you'll see images of him older when he had the beard
70s.
And was just doing the night show circuit and doing poetry and some comedy here. To see, I mean, it's the way you worded when he said he was brilliant and a pain in the ass. Most people that I know that are genuinely brilliant are a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And especially in this field because they're so locked on to their image.
Yeah.
In a scene in the movie where he's arguing with the guy who built the sets. He said, I thought of this before I even knew you. And I know I've heard that dialogue from other people who, when they're so locked in to get this story told, they'll burn the bridge they're standing on to get it done, type deal.
He has this uncanny ability to intuitively and instinctively, at least in terms of the work,
right?
He has a way to just get it right. He can just like. There's a great scene where he and we'll move around a little bit, but there's a great scene where he takes Zac Efron's character along to the radio broadcast that they're going to do. And they're all people are standing around and they've got scripts in front of them. They don't have to memorize these parts. They just have to read the part. And he just decides to insert something that he had been talking to Zac Efron about in the car into that reading. And everybody is just, what the hell? They're looking, where is this in the script? But it just enriched the whole thing. And then he brings it back to the close at the bottom line in a script so the next guy can jump back in. And he kind of points out, here we go, you're on, go. And they get up, they cut, and they're like, what the hell was that? And he's like, I just thought I'd improvise a little bit. What's the name of that writer that he was talking about? I can't remember.
Oh, wait, I got it down. It was...
Ambersons.
The guy who wrote the Magnificent Ambersons.
Yeah, Ambersons. Yeah, he pulls something out of that into this script and just it transforms the whole thing, fleshes it out, makes it better, throws everybody off.
Yeah, and the most amazing part of that scene, because it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is the Zac Efron character who was given a script, flips the page, and then he just looks up and is amazed. Sees what he's doing and is just floored. Yeah. And technically, he's only 5 years older than Zac Efron's character.
Yeah.
And he's
at a completely level.
And it really did show the arrogance, but the brilliance of Orson Welles in that moment.
So, I mean, let's talk about the premise, basically. It's the story of a 17-year-old kid played by Zac Efron who... just by luck and a little bit of BS, manages to land a bit part in Wells' stage production of Caesar. He's 17, he's a high school kid, but he's going, to Broadway and walking around, and he just sort of stumbles into this role that he wants, and it just exposes him to this much bigger world. And it reminded me of this line from Alfonso Cuarón's Great Expectations, the one they did in the 90s with Ethan Hawke. and
Right.
Gwyneth Paltrow and De Niro, and like Anne Bancroft was in it and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this line in the narration that says every once in a while, somewhere in life, the curtain will just get peeled back, and you'll just see this how big the world really is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and he does. He gets this look behind the curtain that
Oh.
no other high school kid is going
Mhm.
to get.
Right.
And it's Orson Welles.
Yeah, and you're stuck. I love this in the beginning when he meets the writer, the female writer, and the writer says to him about them meeting and everything else. She goes, well, why can't this be a beginning of a play? Just two people meeting and the story goes.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because the next scene is him going to the theater and the story just goes.
Yeah,
it really does flow that way, and
he ends up meeting this girl named Greta, who Zac Efron's character does, and you could tell, it's kind of a little spark there, a little chemistry.
Yeah,
and she becomes a recurring character again in the middle of the show. He runs into her again, and then of course at the end, as things sort of reset themselves, and he has to go back into his regular life again.
Right.
As it kind of ends. But I mean, Wells was just, they said as a kid, he was discussing how he was going to direct Shakespeare plays.
Right.
Maybe as an American, maybe the greatest American ever to interpret Shakespeare. At one point on this channel for a month, we're going to cover Ken Branagh. And I've already got Ryan agreeing to come on for those. But obviously, if you want to be there, I want you there. But it isn't an American who does Shakespeare very often at that level.
Exactly.
You might have had your Oliviers, and your Branaghs, and whoever else. Every once in a while, someone.
They were picking on Gielgud in the movie.
Yeah,
Gielgud.
Wasn't he making fun of Gielgud?
Yeah, he was making fun of him because the Zac Efron character had Gielgud's book on acting, and he was saying this is all wrong. Basically.
Yeah.
But his versions of Shakespeare. You could say they were brilliant and magnificent, and some people say you can get tired of those comments, but they really were. Yeah. If you watch them, even if you don't like Shakespeare, they're breathtaking. Yeah. He has a film. Orson Welles has a film version of him doing Othello, and he's in the lead.
Yeah,
and it's at the end. I remember seeing it when I was in college, and I thought Shakespeare was okay. Blah 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 blah. But I watched that, and I'm crying at the end.
If you see Shakespeare done correctly, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. Like to see it done, you're like, holy shit! Like this is, incredible. And of course there are a lot of substitute teachers. And I shouldn't say that because that's disrespectful to the people on the stage. I'm sure they're putting their best foot forward, but there are levels. That's all. Let me just put it that way.
And when there's good versions of it, and there's really good versions of it.
Yeah. Let me put that a little more respectfully and just justifiably so. Let's talk a little bit about what he finds when he gets to the stage. An assorted cast of characters.
Right.
A lot of neurosis. Would you say?
Yeah.
How would you describe? Now you're the theater guy. I know nothing about the stage.
It's
rehearsal.
The theater draws in everybody who, as I put it, they get involved with the theater because they can't afford a shrink. And I mean that with all due affection.
Right.
Because they are bizarre at times. They are sometimes can be very scary when they're off stage. Because they're not too sure what to do. But when you see them on stage, you can see why they're drawn to it. I've seen a lot of people get drawn to the theater because they want the lights and the this and that. But there's other people who get drawn to it saying, I got a story to tell. And then when that story's done, I have another one to tell. It's like the Zac Efron character, I want to be part of this world. And, you just have that inside you. And it does. It brings out some freaks. It brings out some very brave people, because you're literally, as one guy put it in another movie, you're the pie in the face people. It either works or it doesn't,
I think it was Bill a while ago who was saying there's a strong correlation between creatives and a bit of instability.
Oh, yeah.
A bit of instability. And I think that the instability, or maybe even the hole that's in these people, is what actually allows them to be so creative, because they can fill that vacuum with whatever it is that they're working on, whether it's writing or whether it's acting or stage production or it's music, whatever that thing is. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets filled with negativity, and people take a rough turn with that. But there's a great line in here where Wells is talking to Efron, and he says, I do this because it affords me, he said, a miraculous reprieve from being myself.
Right. Exactly. And I've heard that comment from a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, not only is he sort of, like you said, when he's off the stage, maybe things aren't so great, but
you don't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
My father laughed. He didn't laugh at me, but he was laughing one time. He said, because he saw me give a lecture to like 2,000 people in a arena type atmosphere. But afterwards, a woman was talking to me and everything else, and I was very awkward. And he said, you can talk in front of 2,000 people and have them laugh on a dime, and it comes to the one-on-one and you get tongue-tied.
Yeah. So
but that's too.
Yeah.
And it's not because like I sat there and said, I want to be on the stage. It was just, to me, that's more. I'm trying to remember who he was. It was a guy that was in the fraternity. We were doing a thing for the fraternity one time, and we were using the theater at Stockton.
Was it
I was walking around stage telling people, what?
Was it Charlie?
No, it was something that we were doing for like Pledge Week for the fraternity. And we were using the stage, and it was Alan Wynn. Oh, okay. Alan looked at me and went, and I went, what? And he looked at me and goes, I've never seen you this relaxed, because I was literally on the stage walking around telling people, put this here, he goes, I've never seen that in you. Right. You're like, this fits you. And I'm like, and there really is no way to describe it. It's, you look at the world differently, and that's your safe space, which terrifies other people.
Yeah.
Even Orson Welles, when he was talking about it, when he turns around and goes, it gives me time not to be myself. Bruce Springsteen turned around and said in a documentary, I used to do 4-hour shows when I was younger, because the other 20 hours I didn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
It's that comfort level.
Right. You find the place where you sink, and that's where you want to be. And maybe because of that is your comfort. You don't want to be anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that. And I remember David Duchovny saying that. He goes, after all these years, the minute one thing ends, he's like, I'm 61 now. He goes, the minute one thing ends, the minute he goes, I shouldn't be this way in this point in my career. But the minute it ends, like the anxiety starts to ratchet up, I got to get to the next thing. And then he starts to worry, is there going to be another thing?
Yeah.
The inevitable neurosis, is there going to be, is this it? Is it over here? And he's like, because he had like these Vanity Fair, sometimes actors do like this 20-minute Vanity Fair interview.
I love those things.
They do the retrospective of their career, and he's like, there's no way I should feel this way at this point in my life and at this point in my career, but without fail, every time the second it's over, it starts.
Yeah. When Robert Redford passed away, some of the retrospects that were shown, and he was talking about it too. He's saying, when the movie's over, I'm like, all right, in 2 weeks, I'm calling my agent. Is there anything coming in? Do I need to go? And this is Robert Redford, who walks out of the house and people recognize him on the street type deal. And he was still that way.
So, I mean, I guess you've got to take the good with the bad on I mean, what's the good news? Well, the good news is that, you're being directed by Orson Welles. What's the bad news? You're being directed by Orson Welles.
Yep.
And I think one of the characters who was, I don't know if he stole any scenes, but I thought he was really good, was Eddie Marsan as John Houseman.
Yes.
Houseman is the guy running the Mercury Theater. And in the very beginning, they set the tone for what the entire thing is going to be like, not just working for Welles, because you're always working for Welles, you're not working with him.
Right.
But what it's just going to be like being around him. And he just tells him, he goes, you go around smashing everything. You disenfranchise every friend, every supporter we have, and then I'm left to clean up these messes that you make. And you can see in the beginning, Welles, like his face drops a little bit because he realizes that, like, he can't screw over Houseman because he's Houseman. He's just, he can't. It's they're on equal footing in that sense. But the very next second he comes back, he regains his footing after a second, and he's like, "Well, I'm Orson Welles, and I'm the star of this, and you can't even run the theater." And it's just. He's kind of in life. He's kind of a train wreck.
Yeah,
he's a bridge burner. He's married. He's 22 years old. He's got a pregnant wife. He chases every skirt.
Everybody.
That is just
the bit with the match to the flower right before walking. I'm like, that was smooth.
That was very impressive. He knew how to talk to women. He knew how to charm his actors. Whether it was, kind of yelling at him abrasively or just, boosting them up a little bit. He always seemed to know what to say, at least in the short term.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To get him the opening night.
And Christian McKay sounds just like Welles.
Yes,
now, we covered The Third Man here, and he sounds just like him. And,
I know.
We'll probably get to some more Welles before it's all over with. Incredible.
If Christian McKay wasn't in this movie, as good as it was written and as good as everybody was, I don't think I would be as thrilled about it. Only because you needed that iconic anchor.
Yeah.
And he nailed it. I mean, the good and the bad. There were times that he made you laugh, and you wanted to be his friend. And there was times you went, "You son of a bitch."
Strangle him. Yeah, you wanted to strangle him. Yeah.
There was a guy. I worked for one guy for years, and as a friend of mine put it, it was a director. He said, "Your boss is the most likable rogue I want to love and punch at the same time." But it was the same thing. It was the beginning of a theater. We're trying to get it started, and it was nowhere near on the level of the Mercury Theater. But you have that point, because I was the Houseman character at one point. I was apologizing for him left and right, to keep people coming in, to keep the actors in.
I think everybody knows somebody like that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we're all guilty of that to some extent. We make a mess at some point that somebody else has to clean up, this sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, he was a fucking tornado. He was just, he was Welles was a force of nature. Yeah, he was a real force of nature. And it's an interesting career because I think he said he started out at the top.
Right.
And then slowly kind of, you couldn't maintain it. Whereas most people start out and then, arc their way up. He actually started at,
oh God,
yeah, he was like in orbit, and then slowly over the years, just kind of, drifted down.
I mean, when he did War of the Worlds in his life, I had my parents who were 10 and 11 years old and got to hear it live on the radio. And my mother said, she was like, "Mom, who is this?" is all she kept saying to my grandmother. And she goes, "Just listen, and watch it," and just told her it was a radio show.
Yeah, people ended up taking their lives.
People got terrified.
People killed themselves really thinking that we were being invaded.
He did these things that no one else really did. And this movie had to portray that at the beginning. There's a great movie version of It's called TKR 151, and it's about the making of Citizen Kane
Okay.
and all the backstabbing for it. But it's to show him at the beginning and to show everybody who is angry with him all the time, yet still showing him loyalty.
Yeah.
Because they know he's that good.
Yeah, he's that good.
That's the amazing part.
Well, they say McKay spent months listening to hundreds of hours of Welles interviews and radio broadcasts to perfect the voice, which is actually quite difficult. Welles had a very particular mid-Atlantic cadence that changed over the years. And it said Linklater has said that the film is semi-autobiographical in spirit, and his own love of theater began when he was cast in a high school production as a 17-year-old in Texas, and had a life-changing week of rehearsals with a charismatic director, much like the character Richard experiences with Welles. Again, like a lot of great films, not a great release. Strong reviews in the film festivals, and it sat in the United States for a year before anybody would release it. It got a small release in late 2009, just 4 screens at its widest. It made about 2.3 million worldwide. Linklater has this uncanny knack of just not making blockbusters. Like, he's never going to make a film that makes $1 billion.
Right.
And I just respect him because everybody wants to work with him. Like, here's this guy who's never going to, make $1 billion film, and like people would just line up left and right. He just made a French film that I saw on Friday on Netflix. Please go see that Nouvelle Vague.
I will.
It's amazing. He made a black and white French film in 4:3 frame.
Yep.
This is fucking amazing. And I just saw him 3 weeks ago. Maybe make the best film I've seen him make with Blue Moon, with Ethan Hawke. And you're just like, but it's never going to be a James Cameron film. It's never going to be there are no CGI. It's just acting.
And great stories.
Yeah.
Look at the people that were in this film. You had, besides Zac Efron, you had Claire Danes.
Yeah.
Like you said, Ben Chaplin.
Yeah, he was great.
A brilliant actor in this.
Yeah.
And who was it?
Whatever happened to him? I never see him anymore. He had a streak in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Kelly Riley. That same year, if I'm not mistaken, the first Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. came out, and she was in.
Yeah, that's right.
And she was in that movie. She's in Yellowstone now. But she's been acting. All these people are such vintage actors and actresses that he can bring in, and you needed that for this movie.
Dude, even Marsan said he was dying to work with Richard Linklater. He's like, Eddie Martin, like, if he calls you, like, he's like, a chance to work with Rick, and they call him Rick, and a chance to work with Rick, no problem. Sign me up, whatever it is.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, so good.
And I think it took somebody like Linklater to tell the stories of a young Orson Welles in this way. Because if it was somebody else, they would have made it too glamoury or too, like, over the top. He just told the story, and when you walk into this, when they walk into that theater, like the one scene where he's down, Zac Efron's down in the dressing room and he's looking at things with matches. You can smell that, like that. I when he walked into that room, I'm going, oh my God, I can just picture the clothes, and it really does bring you there.
Yeah, maybe the mustiness, or maybe the smell of old popcorn, or
and the excitement of it, or the creaks when the one actor was talking about the floor and the stage popping open.
Yeah,
and he's going, "Oh, they had these things all the time." I said,
"Yeah,
but they were planned."
Trapdoor. Yeah, he falls through the trapdoor.
He's going. They were planned. They didn't just pop open.
I just love how just dramatic everybody was when they weren't acting. They were like more dramatic and like the one guy who does the set design. There's a mistake here in the script, and he's like, "My name isn't and then and he's just, Wells is like, can we not do this now?
Yeah. And stuff like that is true. And if you put it on film or the stage, some people go, "Oh, that's not real." Linklater got it to look real.
Yeah,
he really got that portrayal.
If you were to say that this was like a found footage or something, or like a behind the scenes, like Wells's production, with warts and all, then this would be a documentary almost. And he said he said it's a piece of historical fiction, and that everybody sees it just from their own perspective. He's like, even when you see something that's nonfiction, it's kind of fiction because whoever's writing it is giving their spin on it, however, neutral they're trying to be. Let's get a little bit into Claire Danes. I thought she was great in this.
Oh my God.
Kind of a complicated character, and she's good at playing complicated characters.
Yes. And people forget that she's good at playing complicated characters.
Yeah, really she's sweet and she's honest. She's ambitious at the same time, in a way that she doesn't show to everyone. She definitely wants to move up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
she was talking about O. Selznick. He's going to introduce me to O. Selznick.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on like what she's about.
She's a true woman of that time. I mean, we all have our images of certain women, especially from that era. She was saying, "I'm just as good as the boys here," Like I loved it when she was putting up the poster with Zac Efron all over, and she goes, "I can't believe I have a degree in English literature and business and everything else, and my parents found me doing this. They'd take me home."
Yeah. She's like from Middle America. She's like from Ohio or something like that, And she's out there in New York, and she's part of this production. She's making connections with people. She wants to rise. Like the guy. She's sleeping around a little bit, I mean, she starts sleeping with Zac Efron. And then, the big conflict comes in when she just tells him up front, hey, Orson's staying over tonight, that's going to happen,
Exactly.
Because,
exactly. But she's a genuine beauty who knows exactly what the score is.
She's kind of
when the critic calls in the one scene and she turns around and she goes, "I just got the roses. Thank you. Where did you find that color yellow?" And I'm sitting there going, you can schmooze just as good as Orson.
Yeah.
And bring that in. She's the perfect counterbalance for him.
Yeah.
Especially if you're running the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. She handles all that stuff he can handle.
Yeah, you just got a beautiful, well-spoken woman there, who's friendly and charming. She's in her own way. She's more charming than Orson because there's not a sucker punch coming. The minute you turn your back. But
and then like Orson, she's honest.
Yeah,
she'll tell you exactly what like what she did with Zac Efron. She was like up front, Orson's coming over tonight.
Yeah,
we're not boyfriend girlfriend.
Yeah, we just did that the one time. Maybe we can do it again. I don't know, but tonight, it's not you tonight. And you don't think less of her because of it, really. It's just you feel a little bad for Efron, but I was surprised how good Efron was because I remember writing in the notes. I keep forgetting he's still in high school.
Right.
There's this one scene where he's like, and all of a sudden they shoot and he's back in class. He's always in that English class where the teacher's talking about Shakespeare, and I think he's falling asleep. I'm like, holy shit, I forgot that he was a high school student.
Right.
He's really good in this. He's really good.
Like I said, when I never really got into him because of the High School Musical thing. He was definitely not in my wheelhouse. I saw him here. I now look for him. Like if he's in a movie, I'm going, I might catch that. I want to see. Like you told me about him in Iron Claw.
Yeah.
And once you said it was Zac Efron, I'm like, I'm there. I'm going to go see it. Because he's enough that would draw me into seeing a film.
I'm looking here. I'm trying to see what he's done now. I mean, how he was born in '87, so I guess 13.
Mm-hmm.
He's about 38 now.
Right.
So he was about 20 when this came out. 38,
Exactly.
87, 2008. He was 21. So he was
Yeah.
21 when this came out. I'm trying to look what High School Musical. He was in some sort of Hairspray.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky
Yeah,
Oh, I
he did a
didn't see
version of
Ricky Stenicki. I wanted to see Ricky Stenicki. Maybe I will. The
He
Iron.
was also in The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman.
I didn't see that either. Okay,
Yeah.
The Greatest
He's
Showman.
a very good song. He's a very good song and dance man. That's why when he was in the theater or doing this for the theater, I'm going, well, that's perfect. Because, you know, a lot of the theater stuff does do song and dance because that's what gets people in.
Sure.
You know, but he's a lot better than I think people give him credit for. I think they ignore the fact or draw on the fact, well, he's a pretty face or a handsome guy. I'm like, no, he's got depth. You know, there's stuff there.
Well, I mean, he's the star basically of the Iron Claw, so I mean, I think he'll probably be landing some bigger roles. Hold on,
yeah.
When
I
Isabel,
mean, but it's Claire Danes. You look at Claire Danes in this movie; she is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, she is.
And you keep forgetting she can act.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, she's always been doing complicated stuff, and I remember in the early Stockton days, they dropped that show, My So-Called Life. It was an MTV series. And a complicated teenager series. And oh God, what's his name? Who was the boyfriend?
Oh God,
Jared Leto. That was my first exposure to Jared Leto. And that was a little bit too late for me to catch up because, you know, like, I was like, okay, high school's over with. I'm not watching this. But the couple of things that I saw were really good. And then she did Romeo and Juliet with DiCaprio.
That's right.
She was really good in that.
I mean, there is not one lightweight in this movie, performer-wise. I mean, even doing, I mean, what's his name? Oh gosh, where is he? I'm trying to remember. There was an actor playing one of the guys that was in the Mercury Theater, and the actor in real life actually played somebody in the radio station, but it was the same, like Norman somebody. And I'm going, they didn't, you know, there's like not one weak person playing any character.
No.
You know, they're just solid performances in this show.
But the guy who plays Sis the Poet, you know, he keeps getting his part cut. He keeps getting his part cut, then put back in, and then it's cut again.
And that part where he said about them gasping. I've been in shows where that happened, and actors go, "Did you hear him gasp?" I'm like, "Sit down. You did good.
I think
we have a show tomorrow."
We were saying before we went on that people say this is the most accurate movie ever made about what happens in the theater, like, you know,
oh my God,
stage production.
Yeah, and it's brutally honest. Like, to me, there's times in it I actually smile, but there's other times going, "Oh Christ, I hate that." You know, because I had to do that or that happened to me. You know, like when Cotton told Richard he was, you know, being let go because Orson didn't do it.
Yeah,
I had to do that for somebody when they turned around and they said, well, you know, this one guy, and they said, he's not here and everything. And they all looked at me and I'm like, great. All right. I had to go tell the kid he was fired.
Yeah. And you know, that's the one sticking point in this movie, because otherwise it's going well. And then, like, why do you think? Because Orson is aware that they're hooking up.
Right.
You can see that. Like, he's too in tune. Like, he's not missing out on that. And, you know, you can, most of the time, you can tell when two people are, you know, if they're not announcing it, that something's going on between them.
Right.
So Orson picks up on that right away. My opinion is that he did it just to sort of mark his territory.
Pretty much.
Like to say that there's nothing you can have that I can't take from you. And it's a petty thing to do, and it's a small thing to do, and it's just a hurtful thing to do. And he's doing it to a 17-year-old kid, which is why I'm saying he's kind of a son of a bitch. You know, like, but at the same time, the kid is sort of out of his depth.
Right.
But he could have just let it, you know, let it play out. It's not like there's any shortage of skirt It's not like he's not married,
Right.
pregnant wife.
Right.
He just did it to piss over
To
where it
to
had
prove
already.
his dominance.
Yeah,
I also thought it was also because, and I agreed with the John Cotton character when he said, "You pushed back on the guy who wanted credit for building the sets.
yeah,
You went against him." And in my head, I was like, as much as I hated that scene, I was glad the scene was in the movie because if it wasn't, it would have been those 1940s, 50s style music. Come on, kid, we're now going to take over Broadway, and it was the realism that they kept with, and that's why I think, as bitter as it was, I don't think I would have liked the music or the movie as much
yeah.
if not
Well,
if it was
sometimes you can get that honesty from a kid that an adult wouldn't be willing to give you.
Oh, exactly.
And he's like, "You're a son. Like you have a wife. Like, why the fuck do you have to?" And that's what really pissed him off. That's what because he pointed out what an asshole he is, and that he's wrong. But he said that they say that early in the film. The worst thing you can do is prove him wrong.
Right.
Like he'll just X you out after that. Yeah, he did. He was. Oh yeah, he was obviously wrong. Now, if the kid had just said nothing and just ate it, probably nothing would have happened. But he
would have been the biggest name on Broadway in a year.
Yeah,
yeah,
probably. But he stood up for himself, and it cost him because right after the opening night, Wells fires him. Doesn't even tell him. He tells him he fires him.
Right.
Doesn't even tell him, excuse me, and has somebody else do it.
Right.
He's gone. Like it's not even, like I'll have my secretary take care of this. It's just it's
when John Cotton said he's a coward for never doing this. He's always afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he told that blonde kid that's been backstage all night, he's doing your part tomorrow.
Yeah,
he came right out and told him, you've been replaced. You need to go now. In type deal. And I was like, what? And I remember seeing that and I'm going, I've been the John Cotton character, having to tell the person you're being let go, and they're mad, and it all comes at you.
Yeah.
But John Cotton won't yell at Orson Welles because they had a hit.
Right, and no one wants to screw with Welles, because in a sense it's kind of true. Within that particular circle, he's the top dog.
He's the top dog,
and he
exactly.
There's nobody he won't. Screw over or get rid of because everybody is replaceable, everybody is expendable, but him.
Right.
And
that's what I think made it to me, kept it real. I think if Linklater changed it and said, "Oh, that's okay, kid,"
yeah,
I think that would have bugged me. Linklater's always keeping it. I don't want to say he's keeping it real, but he keeps it very true.
Well, I mean, there's always the theme in Linklater films, and we talked about this for the past couple of weeks, where people make their choices.
Right.
And, you like the individual, you have to decide for yourself.
Exactly.
And sometimes those choices don't pan out. It's not always that, I made my choice and, now I'm going off to smell the roses. Sometimes, the choice you make comes back to bite you. And it kind of does here with Efron. And I think I would have felt worse about it if he wasn't just a 17-year-old kid who was in high school anyway.
Right.
Like, he has to go back to his world. It reminds me of that movie. I've only seen it the one time, Big, with Tom Hanks. And I
had to go back.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that as a kid, and I was very disappointed that he didn't stay. I never watched it since then, but now it makes complete sense. Like, he can't stay.
He can't stay.
He
had to go back.
Yeah, he's not an adult. He's
and
got to go back.
He did kind of get I don't want to say happy ending, but a realistic ending when he met, Greta again.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, he meets the girl who has been popping up throughout the film. She's obviously been interested in him. He uses this time that he's had, at this level to help her get something published, because he passes it through Claire Danes, who can cut through the red tape. And I loved how they did that. In that simply somebody like Claire Danes putting it on the desk
is enough.
it doesn't make a difference that it's the same quality that she would mail in herself, but it just
Right.
goes to show that even back then, networking
Yeah.
was everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets it published. I mean, she could have mailed that in, and they would have never looked at it. Never would have made it to anybody in anybody's desk that's important.
Right, but she knew what it meant to him too. And all right, it costs me nothing. I'll just drop it on the desk.
Yeah, he's like, I'll drop it off, no problem. I can't promise anything, but I can put it on there.
Right. It was actually one of my favorite lines is when she says to Zac Efron, "I'm going to buy you lunch."
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Dinner or whatever. Yeah, whatever.
And it was funny because everybody else was always very charming, and she was kind of awkward, but that was what made her charming.
Yeah. Yeah, she was awkward in the beginning.
I'm going, oh, good. They're at least going to be together,
Yeah, she's a nice salve, a nice balm for the wound, and she's clearly very impressed with him. She's very grateful for it. She's a very nice girl. You can tell she's very intelligent. He couldn't do much better at that age.
Exactly.
So, all's well that ends well, as the Bard says,
Exactly.
But I got to say, my favorite scene in the whole film is when he bids his farewell to Claire Danes, which is a happy farewell. He's accepted, where things are at. She's like, I'm sorry. He's like, don't worry about it. This, that, or the other. And she just walks down the street and just turns right and just goes right out of the camera shot.
Right.
It's like kind of a classic movie. She just exits right and got off the stage, and her part of the
stage right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm like, oh my god, that's a fantastic shot.
Yeah. And even the dialogue when he was talking to Claire Danes, she goes, "You've only known me for a week," and some people live a life in a week.
Yeah.
Some people remember 1 week for the rest of their. I mean, I pretty much love everything about this movie.
Yeah.
Type deal. I even love the music that was in it.
Oh,
in the radio show when he's improvising.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the actors looking at each other, and all of a sudden the conductor, and they just start improvising the music.
Oh, it's great musicianship. Yeah, I mean, you've got big band sound, and you've got horns, and you've got percussion. And
I mean, when you said you picked this one, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Gave me another excuse to watch it.
Yeah. Fantastic. This is not streaming anywhere. I should mention. Yeah, I guess you have to find your own copy or buy one. I just happened to. I used to have one, and when I went to pick it up, it was busted. But I found out that Fandango was streaming it for $3, and I said, all right, $3 is worth. That's I appreciate it.
But that's what I said. You kidding me? $3? I'd pay 10.
Yeah, I think this was $5 brand new. Mm-hmm. I think it was $5 brand new on Amazon or something like that. So.
It's one of the blessed secret gifts. I mean, I've given that movie to people, and like 2 months later, 3 months later, they go, "Oh, by the way, thank you."
Yeah.
It's a really well done movie.
Bill, who's the Linklater kind of all the way back to Slacker, he hadn't seen it. There are a couple of Linklater films I haven't seen. He's got another Netflix movie with Glenn Powell called Hitman. Still haven't seen it. So
I started watching that before you mentioned about this movie, and I'm like, oh, okay. Guy just started picking. Glenn Powell's starting to he's becoming my next Zac Efron.
Yeah.
When I first saw him, I thought he was okay, but the more and more I'm watching him, going, all right, wait a minute, there's something here.
If he can get the right roles, then he's all right. He's all right.
When I saw some of the background for him for Running Man, I'm going, oh, good, they're sticking more to the book.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything about this film that we have not discussed that you would like to touch on, get into?
Actually, we did when I mentioned the music.
Okay.
That was the one I wanted to touch. The music, because you can find a soundtrack now on certain places.
I'm sure it's probably on Spotify or something like that.
Yeah, and it's a good listen.
And the last line in the film is just, "It's all ahead of us." As he and Greta walk off together to go share.
Yeah, it's all ahead of us.
It's all ahead of us. And, like I said, it would have been different if he had been 21 or 22 and Wells had done that to him. But he wasn't. He's still a kid. And he's got the whole world ahead of him. So, yeah, it works out okay. All right, let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be, I'd rather eat a raw chicken rather than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is, this is the journey, this is the destination. This is why I watch films in the first place. John K. Alvarez, always waiting for the bad thing to happen, the bad luck thing. What would you give Richard Linklater's Me and Orson Welles?
I'm biased on this, but I'm giving it a 5. Because I know I know this world.
Okay.
And they presented it well. Okay. And it's a good introduction to people.
Sure. It's a great introduction to Linklater. Like, if you've never seen a Linklater film, because maybe you're not someone who appreciates Dazed and Confused, or something like that. This was
my first Linklater film. I didn't see Dazed and Confused. Yeah, I didn't see Dazed and Confused first when it came out. I found that later on.
And maybe some of the other stuff like Waking Life or Slacker, it's too abstract for you, that kind of thing. This is a nice introduction to Linklater. Coming late to the game, admittedly, but who gives a shit? You're here now.
That's right.
Sit down and watch Me and Orson Welles. Okay. I'm going to go to me, and now, I was going to go 4.5. But you know something? I can't think of any reason not to give it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to 5. I'm going to 5. This is just a charming, charming film. There are no dead spots in it. Or nothing where you want to, this is dragging on a little bit. The script is brilliant. The performances are spot on. And they're casting real people, Wells, Houseman, the actors that are part of the Mercury Theater, the cast. Like I said, a really interesting look at what happens on the stage, and preparing for these things, not at that level, but also probably must happen, for your local productions, with people stressing out or people hooking up or, this happening or that happening. And, me, as someone who's never been on the stage, I just pay money for my ticket and go sit down and watch it. And it looks just fine. It looks just fine. Like I just saw Who's Coming to Dinner. And I'm sure that was full of all sorts of stress and, kerfuffles and confusion. I don't know. I see it. I have a good time. I clap. We go for a drink later, and that tends to be it. But
one of my favorite lines that Orson Welles says in this movie is at the very end when they're all applauding and he's standing there and goes, "And how am I going to top this?" And it's true. There's times you sit there when everything's going great and go, okay, how am I going to top this now? Is this the peak? But it's so true. This is why I was going to give it a 4.52 initially. But the more and more I'm talking about it, I'm saying, no, man, this is representing my world very well in a good and bad light.
Maybe one time I'll have to connect up with Ryan, another person who works on the stage, and I'll have to sit him down and we'll watch it. I'll see what he says. I'm curious.
I think he would like it a lot, but that's
I think so too. I'm so actually I was hoping he would have joined us on this one, but he hasn't been around for a little bit. So
how dare he be busy?
Exactly.
All right.
You got anything you want to plug?
No, actually, last week when I plugged doing the TikTok, I just filmed it. When I find out when it's done, it should be around right after Thanksgiving. When it's done, I'll let you know.
Okay. Or maybe we'll figure out some sort of way we can play it here or something like that, if you like.
We'll let we'll get all the regulars to go ahead and review it and skewer me.
All right, for this show, we will be back next week to wrap up the month of November. I didn't think we were going to do one next week, but then Bill asked if we could come in the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, because next week is Thanksgiving, and I thought people would want to, take the time. But Bill's like, no, let's do it, because he wants to do the final Linklater film for the month, Waking Life. And that's what we're going to be getting into. Bill originally told me about that movie in 2001. So it's been 24 years that, this is a film that I've finally been given an opportunity to discuss on this platform. So I'm looking forward to that. Waking Life next month. And then in December, we move on to a new director. And then, it'll be that way in perpetuity, so to speak. All right. My thanks to John K. Alvarez, always waiting for the bad luck thing to happen. And we will see you all in the next video. All right. Take care.